Hello everyone, welcome to the daily editorial analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 24th February 2025. Displayed here are the list of articles that we will be discussing today. The first article, Talent Shortage, Global Challenge, India's Opportunity. The article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. The second article, Stepping In with Empathy. The article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. So without much delay, let's begin our discussion with the first article. Talent Shortage, Global Challenge, India's Opportunity. The article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. Recently, a study was conducted in the collaboration of FICCI and KPMG. We know that FICCI, Federation of Indian Commerce and Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries, along with the KPMG, they are an international firm. They conducted a study on global mobility of Indian workforce and estimated that by 2030, the demand for the skilled workforce will exceed the supply, and there will be a shortage of nearly 85.2 million people, and this will result in an estimated of $8.45 trillion unrealized annual revenue by 2030. So what is mean by this unrealized annual revenue? Unrealized annual revenue or unrealized revenue means the revenue we could have been generated if we have a component. For example, if we have this much workforce, then we can generate $8.5 trillion annually by 2030. So that is mean by unrealized revenue. Revenue we could have been generated if we had a component. So let us discuss more about the article from the mains point of view. So global talent shortage and India's opportunities. So the projected shortage by 2030. So a skilled workforce of a shortage of skilled workforce of 85.2 million. Shortage will be there according to the study, and this will economic impact. So we already discussed that economic impact of $8.45 trillion annually unrealized revenue. And what is the role of India here? So India is blessed with a youth population. We have a huge youth population, but if we can provide them with the proper skill, and if we can encourage them to join the global workforce, then it brings an opportunity for India's economic growth, as well as India can even strengthen its soft power. So what are the key areas or regions which it demands the workforce in the coming days? So first is the Gulf Cooperation Council and Australia. So in this region, there will be high demand for manufacturing and construction workers. And coming to the Europe, we have the service sector demands huge skilled workforce, and also the healthcare sector demands workforce. And the next is global healthcare demands workforce because of the aging population. We know that recently the birth rate has fallen and the death rate has also fallen. Therefore, we have an aging population, and this will bring a lot of opportunity in the global healthcare sector. And coming to the economic benefits of India, so if we can enhance our youth population, then we can boost our GDP from between 6.7 to 9 trillion by 2030. And this will also support our Vikasit Bharat vision. We know that Vikasit Bharat 2047, India is committed to Vikasit Bharat 2047, and for that, as per the recent economic survey, we need a constant GDP growth of 8% to achieve the Vikasit Bharat by 2047. So it is a right opportunity, because if we can enhance the workforce with the proper skill and knowledge and other skill demanded by the market, then this will also support the Vikasit Bharat mission 2047. So what are the causes for this global talent shortage? First one is a demographic shift. So the aging population is increasing, especially in the developed nations like European Union and Japan, while India has a very young workforce, according to the economic survey 2022-2023. And the next reason is the skill mismatch. So the market always demands a particular set of skills. For example, recently the development of artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation and all, it demands new skills, but many workforce lacks these new skills. And the next is the post-pandemic shift. We know that during the time of pandemic, we went for remote work culture or work from home culture. So after the pandemic, there is an increase in the remote and digital work culture, and therefore there is a shortage in the traditional labor shortage in the traditional sectors. And after that, we launched the National Career Service to support the employment in the post-pandemic time, because we know that many lost employment and opportunities because of the outbreak of the COVID-19. And India launched the National Career Service to support the youth with employment opportunities. And the next, we have the migration barriers. So migration barriers is one of the major reasons behind the lack of mobility of workforce. and this is because of the strict visa policies in developed nations, in Western nations. And India recently concluded partnership with the United Kingdom, Australia, and European Union to support the workforce, working there, as well as to enhance the relationship in different sectors. And coming to the impact of this talent shortage, so first is the economic loss. So the unrealized revenue of 8.45 trillion annually will be the loss, or by 2030 will be the loss of this talent shortage. We know that unrealized revenue means the revenue we could have been generated if we had a particular component. So if you lack this workforce, definitely it will result in the loss of this $8.45 trillion by 2030. And the next is the wage inflation. We know that when there is a lack of skilled workforce, the wage for the existing skilled workforce will go high. Therefore, this will reflect in the goods and service as well. And that's why recently the European Union and the United States raised or hiked the minimum wage for the workers. And the next is the outsourcing surge. That is, many companies like Google, Tesla, they will expand their research and development and manufacturing centers to regions with surplus skilled workforce. And we know that these companies like Google, Tesla, they expanded their research and development to India. And recently the Micron, they started a semiconductor manufacturing unit in Gujarat. And because India has huge youth population with the skill as well. And the next is India's opportunity. So it is the best time to utilize our youth population skill to achieve a very strong soft power as well as economic growth. And now we are going to see what are the barriers to this global workforce movement. First one is the regulatory barriers are there because of the complexities and paperwork related to visa, and going from one region to another region is getting difficult. And especially we know that followed by this Trump administrations, when they are going with the strict measures to regulate the migration to United States, and they also started deportation, and this has strained the US relation with the many nations, including with the nearby nations in the Western Hemisphere. That is, we know the example of Colombia. And the next is recruitment malpractices. That includes contract fraud, wage theft, and all. Because many people will be recruited for a good work from India, and when they reach us that region, they will be exploited, or they will be scammed like that. So this kind of incidents is happening. And India has ratified the International Labour Organization Convention 181 to regulate the recruitment. And we also have the Immigration Act in 1983 to oversee the workers working in different nations, and also to protect their health and welfare. And then there is a cultural issues are there, language barriers, because many people going to other nations may not be knowing the language in that nation, or they may not be having sufficient knowledge in English communication. So this can hurdle their communication with the people in that particular nation. And workplace discrimination is there in the name of nationality and all. And then we have other issues related to complex paperwork like H1, like complexities related to H1B visa, and other biased decisions in that nation can also affect the people culturally. And coming to the government policies and agreements for the welfare of the workers working abroad, or Indian workforce abroad. So first we are going to see certain important bilateral agreements. First we signed India signed a memorandum of understanding with the United Arab Emirates in the year 2018 to ensure fair recruitment of the people from India. And the next is India GCC, that is Gulf Cooperation Council agreements, and this ensures the fair practice or the fair treatment of the Indian workers abroad. And next we have the India-Japan Skill Partnership Agreement, and this agreement provides training for the Indian workers in tech industries. And under this partnership agreement, many sectors, especially the Indian nurses working in Japan, as well as construction workers in Japan, are also getting a lot of benefits. And the next we have the free trade agreements with different nations. For example, the India-UK Mobility Pact. And this mobility pact provides a framework for professional migration from India to UK and UK to India. And next we have the India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. This agreement, it relaxed the formalities and paperwork for the skilled people to migrate to Australia and from Australia to India. And next, we have certain schemes launched by the Indian government. For example, the e-migrate system. This is launched by the Ministry of External Affairs to track the status of the Indian workers working abroad. That means they can register through this portal, and if they have any issue, they can directly meet the Indian officials, that is Indian diplomats working, or the office or consulates in that nation, Indian consulates in that nation. In case if there is any emergency, that time also we can use this portal to track the status of the Indian people to ensure their welfare and safety. And we know that during the time of Ukraine Russia in conflict in the year 2022, in Indian government, Indian consulate in Ukraine also used the similar system to track the status of the Indian people in during the time of war. And the next is the Pravasi Bharatiya Bhima Yojana. It provides insurance to the migrants in different nations. It covers accident as well as other health issues for the Indian migrants. Next, we have the Indian Community Welfare Fund. This provides financial aid for the distressed workers. So these are the important government policies and agreements that we have to ensure the safety, security, and the welfare of the Indian workers working abroad. So in this topic, we discussed what is the highlight of the study conducted by FICCI and KPMG. And then we discussed what will be the impact of the potential shortage of the talented or the skilled workers by 2030, and what were the barriers that affects the Indian workforce, and what are the government agreements and policies launched by the government of India to protect the welfare, safety, and security of the Indian workforce. So based on the discussion, try to answer this mains practice question. The question is, the global talent shortage presents both challenge and an opportunity for India. Discuss the causes of this shortage and analyze how India can leverage its demographic dividend to address the issue. So this question has two parts. So in the first part, you have to address what are the challenges because of this shortage, and how this is going to benefit India if you utilize this opportunity properly. This should be the first part. And in the second part, you have to talk about the what are the causes, and how India can enhance its youth population to overcome or to turn this crisis as a challenge, as an opportunity for India. So this question actually asking for four important parts. Okay, and the first part, under there are two subtopics. First, you have to address the challenge, and second, you have to address that opportunity. And in the second part, you have to address how what are the causes behind the shortage, and then you can also talk about how India can turn this crisis into an opportunity. So I hope you understand, and you can start the question, then answer for this question using the data given by the study, the global mobility mobility of Indian workforce, the study conducted by FICCI and KPMG, right? And so you can start the answer with the data given by this study, and then you can follow the pattern. So try to answer the question and post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. Now it's time to move to the next topic. Stepping in with empathy. The article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. We know that recently the Trump administration brought a lot of social changes. For example, they banned the discussions related to sexuality in the education institutions. They brought a lot of restrictions in the sex reassignment surgery, and they also imposed restrictions of participation of trans women in women athletics and all. So these kind of restrictions are brought in not only in United States, even in several developed nations. And here comes the relevance of India, who became more inclusive in the recent times. We know that Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case, which decriminalized Section 377 of the Indian Constitution. That is, this section was this section actually criminalized the homosexual relationships. But this case, the Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India case 2018, decriminalized the Section 377. But still, we need a lot of progress to make the society more inclusive. And this article is talking about the India's opportunity to become a leader in socially inclusive measures, as well as for providing better welfare and security for the transgender people. So let us discuss more about the article from the mains point of view. First, we are going to see who is a transgender. So according to the Transgender Protection of Rights Act 2019, transgender is a person whose gender identity is not aligning with the sex assigned at the time of birth. It is a situation where a female is trapped in a male's body, or a male trapped in the female body. And in the 2014, the NALSA versus Union of India case, in this case, the Supreme Court recognized the existence of transgender community in India and also legally recognized certain terms like hijras and aravanis. And they also, this case also recognized the right to self-identification. That means hereafter a transgender person can identify himself as transgender, and no one can force them, him or her to align with the binary binary gender notion of the society. And the next is trans men or trans women. So this community means their gender is not aligning with the sex assigned during the time of birth. And the next is we have the gender queer or non-binary communities. These are the people who will not, who is not aligning with the binary, gender binary notion in the society. That means it is gender binary means it is a notion or a belief that there is only male and female gender in the society. It's actually not correct. So coming to the legal and constitutional protection for the transgender communities in India, first we have the fundamental right, Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which provides equal treatment for the third gender community in India. And next we have the Article 15 and 16, which bans or restricts any type of discrimination against the transgender community or any person in the name of sex or gender. Next, we have the Article 19, which provides freedom of expression. This is also extended to the third gender community. And then we have the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, which provides the right to life and dignity. That means, so in this case, for example, the 2014 NALSA versus Union of India case, in this case, the Supreme Court recognized the right of the transgender people to self-identify as transgender. That means no one can force them to be a man or woman. And coming to the certain landmark judgments related to the rights of transgender community and LGBTQ community, first we have the NALSA versus Union of India case 2014, and it recognized the existence of third gender community in India, and also provided reservations in education and employment, and also recognized the right to self-identification. And the next is Navtej, Singh, Johar versus Union of India case 2018, which decriminalized the homosexuality. Actually, under the IPC, that is, this act was actually framed during the time of British rule. And we know that the British rule were highly influenced by the Victorian morality. And this 377 criminalized the homosexual relationship. And finally, this case in 2018 decriminalized the homosexuality in India. And coming to the comparison between the transgender rights in India and the United States, we can see, coming to the legal recognition, India, we recognize the third gender community under the NALSA Act 2000, the NALSA case 2014, and we also have the Transgender Protection of Rights Act 2019, right? And in the case of the United States, there is no uniform federal recognition for the transgender community, and the rights and the protection and the welfare programs varies by state by state. For example, the law for the transgender community will not be same in California and Ohio. And the next is healthcare access. So in government schemes are announced in India. For example, the Kerala and Tamil Nadu, they are known for a lot of welfare programs for the protection and the rights, protection of rights and welfare of the transgender community. But still, the implementation is lagging due to various reasons. And on the other side, in the United States, there are restrictive policies in some states which are even blocking, gender affirming care. And the next is anti-discrimination in India. We know that Article 1516, which restricts discrimination against the transgender community. And in the we have the 2019 Transgender Protection of Rights Act that also prohibits any type of discrimination against the transgender community. And in the case of United States, there is a Civil Rights Act, but that does not explicitly cover the gender identity in all aspects. And coming to the inclusion of sports in India, the policy to regarding the inclusion of the transgender community in the sports is still under work. But in United States, the people used to participate. For example, trans women used to participate in the athletics meant for women. But recently there are a lot of issues, and they are going for a policy change. And coming to the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, it prohibits discrimination in education, healthcare, employment, and housing, and also protects the right to self-determination, and also established a national council for transgender persons to look after the welfare and rights of the transgender community. But at the same time, it also has certain criticism. This act also has certain criticism related to the identity certificate. That means a transgender person has to get an identity certificate from the taluk officer. And coming to other legal provisions to ensure the protection and welfare of the transgender community, first we have the Mental Health Care 2017. This provides specialized counseling service to the transgender community and the people belongs to the LGBTQ, because we know that they have to the transgender community, because of our social notion and norms in the society, they are facing a lot of discrimination, which will ultimately result in anxiety, depression, a lot of other mental struggles, psychological struggles. So this has to be addressed, and for that we have the mental health care to the Act of 2017. And then we have the SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act 2015. Actually, this act was brought in the year 1989 to prevent any type of atrocities against the SCST community, and this was amended in the year 2015 to enhance the protection for the transgenders from the Dalit community. For example, the problem of a Dalit man and Dalit woman will not be same as of a Dalit transgender. So this has to be addressed, and for that, the SCST's Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 was amended in the year 2015 to ensure the better protection of the transgender people from the Dalit community. And coming to the healthcare challenges for the transgender community, first is a high mental health risk. That's what I mentioned before. That means because of a social notion, norms in the society, they have to face a lot of discrimination, which will ultimately result in depression, anxiety, and other psychological issues. And the next is limited government support for gender affirming surgery and all. And the next is lack of specialized specialized doctors and medical persons for hormone therapy and gender affirming surgeries, because after surgery the people will be facing a lot of issues. Sometimes it can even become fatal if the surgery is not properly done. And the next is social stigma, that is fear of discrimination. That means even sometimes the people from the third gender community has to face discrimination from their own family, and this will ultimately result in mental health issues. Coming to the government healthcare initiatives to protect the transgender community in India, for example, we have the Ayushman Bharat TG Plus. And this program announced 5 lakh coverage for gender affirmation surgery, but it is yet to be implemented. And the next we have the National Transgender Welfare Board. And this board was actually proposed by the government to look after the welfare and security of the transgender community. And the state level, a lot of initiatives have been taken. The first is Kerala. The state of Kerala set up the first transgender clinic, and also provided free sex reassignment surgery. And the state of Tamil Nadu established a welfare board for the protection and security of the transgender community, and this welfare board will provide medical funding for the health of the transgender communities in in the state of Tamil Nadu. So India's opportunity as a global leader in the transgender care. So why? How India can become a global leader? So first is affordability. That means the treatment in India is affordable to both the Indians as well as the people from outside. And the next is the availability of the skilled surgeons, and the next is medical tourism. So the people can visit India for sex reassignment surgery or for other therapies and all. And the next is the legal recognition for the transgender community. So we have the NALSA judgment 2014, and then we have the Transgender Act 2019. This recognizes the existence of the transgender community and also upholds the rights and security of the transgender community in India. And these are the major reasons why India can become a next leader or global leader in providing welfare, security, and transgender care to the transgender people. Coming to the certain sociological perspectives related to the gender and all, we are going to see the perspective of Judith Butler. So he put forward the theory of performativity. So according to this, the gender is socially constructed, rather than biologically determined. So it is aligning with the it is supporting the idea of the transgender community, or protects the transgender community. And it is saying that the sex of a person is biologically determined, but the gender is socially constructed rather than biologically determined. Therefore, it supports the the idea of self-identification for the transgender community. And the next we have the Crenshaw. His theory is intersectionality. So according to his theory, he is talking about how the class, caste and the gender is forming and is intersecting and making the oppression more complex. So simply we can say, for example, if you take a women, and the women of women from a poor community, or from a lower class, or from the upper class, the problems of the two women will be very different. And if you take a man from a low caste and a man from high caste, the problems of these two people will be very different. So just now we discussed, the government amended the ACST Prevention of Atrocities Act 2008, 1989 in the year 2015, to include to enhance the protection of the transgender people from the Dalit community. So this theory is it is supporting that how the intersection of class, caste and gender is making the oppression in more intensive in different layers. Therefore, it is calling for a policy a more inclusive policy to support the problems and issues of the people in different layers of the society. And coming to the implementation challenges, so we know that the in India we are the society is becoming more inclusive recent days, but still there are a lot of issues related to the implementation of the government policies. First is the social stigma. First major reason is the social stigma. That is, the a prejudice will be there. If a person is from a particular community, then the society has a particular notion towards that person, that if he's from if he's from Dalit community, then he will be like this, or if he's from a upper caste community, then he will be like this. So this type of prejudice is existing in every society, and this is one of the major reasons. And second is the discrimination. Like I mentioned before, the transgender community sometimes face discrimination from their own family, which will ultimately results in a lot of psychological problems. And the next is legal gaps. That is the 2019 act itself. If you take that requires identity certification from the taluk office, and this makes the right to self identification more complex, and may not be accessible for many people from different backgrounds. And the next is economic marginalization of the communities. For example, if you take the people, we can see that the transgender communities are facing a lot of they are more vulnerable to poverty and hunger because of the limited economic opportunities. And the next is healthcare barriers, that is insufficient support in the government hospitals for sex reassignment surgery, or the post care surgery, post surgery care and all. And hate crimes and violence against the transgender community is the next major reason for the next major challenge before the implementation of the government policies. And these are the major challenges: social stigma, legal gaps, economic marginalization, healthcare barriers, and the hate, crime and violence against the transgender communities. So these are the major implement challenges before the government. And once we can overcome all these challenges, we can move further inclusive. We can make a more inclusive society. So in this topic, we discussed the rights, how India protects the rights of the transgender community, and what are the provisions that we have, and what are the challenges before the implementation of this policy. So based on the discussion, try to answer this mains practice question. The question is, using Judith Butler's gender performativity theory and Kimberlé Crenshaw's intersectionality framework, analyze how the structural discrimination, social stigma, and institutional barriers shape the lived experience of transgender individuals in India. So we discussed both the sociological perspectives from the sociologists, and how we know, for example, the Judith Butler's theory is saying that the gender is socially constructed rather than biologically determined, and the Crenshaw's intersectionality theory is talking about how the class, caste, gender, how they are intersect, how the intersection of these different factors making the oppressive, complex, and its intensity is how its intensity is differing in different layers of the society. So you can from this we can see that the Crenshaw's theory is calling for more inclusive measures at different layers of the society to make the society more inclusive. So based on our discussion, try to answer the mains practice question and post it in the comment section. We will review and we will reply for your answer. Thank you. Have a nice day. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's editorial analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you.